Hello friends, welcome back to Exploring Art. It's nice to see you again. During our time together today, we're going to learn about a new artist and his various types of art. We're also going to create an art project of our very own, inspired by the artist that we are learning about today. During our time together today, I'd like you to remember that you are the artist, so you can create your own project in your own way. It's not going to look like the artist because you are not that person. You are you. And this is all about expressing yourself in a way that's best for you. So before we get started today, let me show you what our supplies needed for today are. Our supply list is construction paper, scissors, and glue. However, once you see our art piece for today, you can also do this project with crayons, you can do this project with markers, or you can do this project with paints. I am just choosing to do it with construction paper today. So construction paper, scissors, and glue. So go ahead and gather your supplies. And then we're going to talk about today's artist. Okay, here he is. Our artist today is Wassily Kandinsky. He was the creator of the first modern abstract paintings. He was a Russian painter. He was born in December of 1866 and died in December of 1944. When he was young, he wasn't an artist. He studied law and economics at the University of Moscow and then was later a professor. He was 30 years old when he finally began studying and painting, but he focused on drawing and sketching and anatomy at the University of Munich. But the best thing about him is he was an art theorist. So he wrote a number of books on art theory. He developed some theories about how colors and shapes represent sound and can evoke human emotion. Okay, he thought all of it was connected to our heart and connected to our emotions. He eventually traveled from Moscow to the United States to talk about his theories of art. Okay, I'm going to show you one of his most famous pieces. This is the one for our inspiration today. Okay, so that is called Squares with Concentric Circles, and it's one of his most recognizable works. However, it's not a picture. It's a study, and he did that. He was exploring different colors, which ones look better together, which ones go well side by side, which ones are complementary. Remember, we talked about complementary colors before, colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So this drawing is a study on how color combinations are perceived by the painter and by the eye. It may appear simple, but it really has a lot of meaning. He was very philosophical and drawn to the idea that everything in the world starts from a dot. Okay, one tiny step. So the best thing about this art project is it's so simple you can use all different kinds of media. Like I told you, we're going to use construction paper today. You can use paint, you can use crayons, you can use markers, whatever you want to do. And if you want to look it up later, there is a picture book biography called The Noisy Paint Box, The Colors and Sounds of Kandinsky's Abstract Art, and it was published in 2014. Okay, so Wassily Kandinsky, the Russian painter and art theorist. Okay, so here is our piece. Now tell me what you see. We've done a lot of different art projects together. So we see circles and we see squares. Now, are we seeing pastels like pale pinks and pale blues and pale greens like we saw with Monet? No, not really. We see a lot of bright colors. Okay, it is abstract, but it does look like something. We can really identify the shapes, right? But it's not a flower. It's not a water lily. Okay, so it's a theory piece that he created using different colors to see what works well together, using the basic shapes of circles and squares. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so go ahead and get your messy tray. I have mine right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to start with a piece of white construction paper, a basic 9 by 12 or 8.5 by 11 piece of white construction paper. That's going to be your base. So you're going to put that on your tray. Now you're going to get your other colors of construction paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to start by cutting them into squares. So what's easiest for me is if I fold them into thirds. And it doesn't have to be precise, right? If we look at Kandinsky's picture, they're not perfect circles, are they? And they're not perfect squares. Okay, so I'm going to fold this piece of paper into thirds. Okay, and then I'm going to take my scissors. Okay, and I'm going to cut it into half. And I'm going to cut the halves in half, so I'm cutting this piece of paper into quarters. Okay, so then you're going to have this kind of a shape, and you're going to be able to cut those squares right out. So I'm going to cut those squares. Okay, so I'm going to try it with another color too. So now I have some yellow squares. Now I'm going to make some orange squares. So the same thing, fold your piece of paper into thirds. Okay, here's my piece of paper, fold it into thirds. I'm going to cut it into quarters. And then I'm going to cut one of those strips into squares. Okay, so once you have enough squares, and you're going to need probably 12 squares to cover your entire piece of white paper, you're going to take your glue, here's my glue, and you're going to brush it on to your white paper, and you're going to apply your squares. All right, let me show you how we've done that. So here we go. I'm just gluing my squares on top of my white paper. Okay, so now I'm going to glue some of the yellow squares that we cut out. I'm just going to do a few. I'm not going to do them all because I'm going to show you how to do the next step as well. But I'm going to glue a variety of squares on my paper. Okay, so like I said, you're going to want to cover your entire paper with squares of different colors. Bright colors, whatever colors you would like to use, cover your entire paper with squares. Okay, but then we get to the fun part because now we're going to cut some circles. So we have these other strips of paper that are when we cut our paper into thirds, and we're going to cut some circles. We're going to cut big circles. And we're going to cut some littler circles. Okay, and you're going to do that with all different kinds of colors. I cut some yesterday, so I've got some greens and some purples and some reds and some yellows and some oranges, and I have big circles and I have little circles. Okay, then you're going to layer on top of your squares, you're going to put a large circle of a different color. I'm going to put a green one here. Let's see, I think I'm going to use a red. I haven't used any red yet. And you're going to glue circles on top of some of your squares. I'm going to do a couple more. I want to use a purple one. So let's see. I think the purple's kind of nice. And then let's see, do I have a big orange one? I do have a big orange one. Okay, so then once you've got your squares, you're going to put your big circles. Now, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can put some little circles on top of the big circles. So the same thing, you're going to use your glue, and you're going to want to make sure that you use a different color in each of your layers, okay? You don't want to put a purple circle on a purple circle. You want to use different colors on each of your arrangements. So I'm going to glue on some small circles. And maybe you might not want to do a small circle on every one. That's okay. It's your art. You can do whatever you like. I think I'm going to put a little red circle here. Let's see. Okay, so now I've done squares with big circles on top and little circles on the bottom. Okay, do you see that? I'm going to show you the one that I did yesterday, just to give you an idea of what it looks like when it's done. So there we go. I covered my entire paper with squares, and then I layered it with big circles. And then on top of the big circles, I put little circles, and I made sure that I had different colors each layer, right? I didn't want the same things right next to each other. So here is my piece of work of art inspired by Kandinsky's work. You see the resemblance? Not exactly the same, but our circles are not perfect. It's about exploring the color and how the colors go together and making our color choices and trying to decide what looks best to our eye because we are the artist. So here is our artwork inspired by squares with concentric circles, inspired by the work of artist Wassily Kandinsky. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.